Okay, we back in the building. I am your host, Shop Dees, and we're here with another episode of Check the Credits podcast. Okay, so this is a podcast where we put a spotlight on and acknowledge some people who may, kind of go unnoticed for some of their contributions to song. They could be songwriters, they could be producers, engineers, just people because, today's digital world that we in, you don't get to see the credits for some of these masterpieces, right? So unless you do your true due diligence to find out who did what, who played on what, who wrote what, you really don't know. So we're gonna dedicate this time to do that. And this week we have a special guest. I mean, this guy has worked with the likes of the Notorious B.I.G., Diddy, Faith Evans, Beyonce, The Locks, Black Rob, Fat Joe, Big Pun, LL Cool J. The list goes on and on. I can go on for days about what he's done. He's also was handpicked. He's one of the members of the great production collective that we know as the Hitmen with Stevie J, all put together and handpicked. I said by none other than Sean Puffy Combs, P Diddy Combs. Today we have in the building producer Younglord. Salute to you, my brother.
What's up? What's up? Chop Diesel. Man, feeling good. I'm glad to be here, man.
Okay, now I mentioned a bunch of names, right? You know what I'm saying? But for some clarification, let the people know exactly what songs, what projects, what albums you actually worked on.
Oh man. You know what? I was so lucky to get with Diddy when I did. I signed with him in 94, late 94. And I was able to sit in and shadow like a bunch of monstrous classic records. I'm talking about from like, when they were finishing up Mary's My Life album to uh, you know, just the big remixes that came out after Ready to Die, the Faith album, Total, all those great things. And what was so dope is that when I got with him, Diddy didn't like my music. He didn't like my music at all. And it was funny. I listened to some of that stuff, and I'm like, dang, this guy was so confident in himself that he's like, yo, if this kid just hangs around, he'll get it. And that's so dope. But what he did, since he didn't like my music, he kind of, I don't think he did this on purpose, but he kind of had me learn how to do all the stuff that he didn't want to do. So, for example, when they out at the clubs, I'm like supervising the mixes, and he has me doing drops on records to teach me how to do drops. Editing joints, like just being a part of the process. And then at a certain point, I started producing, and it took on its life of its own. But the things that he had me do, were definitely implanted and helped me become a well-rounded producer. I mean, even for example, like he had me going through all of Big's verses to find possible hooks. Like for example, on The World Is Filled with the Too Short on the big album, and they got the Make It Hot. Like that's something I found. You know what I'm saying? And put it there. So it's like all of those small things. And then I also became I got to assist Derek Angeletti, who was after like 96, he became the head of A&R there. And I think they called me one day, and I swear I think they were joking. I think they were just kind of like, on the low trying to play me, but they was like, "All right, we're gonna put you in like control of like the interludes." You know what I'm saying? Now me, that was like you know, even though they think it's funny, whatever the case, right? And I say that because there was a little laughter when they said this, right? But it was the first time that I had like dedicated, engineers and kind of set sessions, and of course everything ran through Derek D. Dot to get approved and everything like that. But it was amazing. So like a lot of the Mase interludes and the Big, the locks. I was uh, pretty much spearheading that the collectives with the ideas. So yeah, outside of my production, I got to work on all of those classic albums. Starting with I'll say the first album I really got to touch maybe was like I think it was Total or Faith, the first albums. And then 112 I really didn't participate in. I mean they came in already having like a bunch of stuff together. Yeah, yeah. And then Stevie, that's when Stevie got involved too. Stevie's a beast, man. Um so he kind of took care of that, and then the whole slew of rap albums after that. But yeah, man, so I got to play a really cool part, and it's funny, even the records I didn't produce, like I said, I did the drops on them, so it's like my little essence in there. It feels good. And then also being around that, I was able to do things like uh Notorious B.I.G. With his hit single "Hypnotize." Now that was a record that was produced by Ron Lawrence and D Dot. They that was their thing. But what happened was, back in those days, Diddy don't press no buttons. What he's doing. And he wanted some stuff changed, and I was like, I'll do it. So he did it, man, and I was able to slip in on that hit record. Who knew it was gonna be such a worldwide hit.
Yeah, dope, dope. Man, I'm sure you got tons of experiences and stories to tell as far as that. You know what I mean? We kind of jump right in. We jump right into it, but I want to get a little more backstory on you, like the early beginnings of how you started, how you got into everything, man. Let us know that.
Oh man, you know what? I had an older brother who was like rapping, and he did some tracks. I was aware of it, but not that familiar. He took me to Jazzy J had a studio in the Bronx back in the day. So I went there like, once or twice, and it was like magical. But I really wasn't messing with it. And there was this girl that I went to that was in the 6th grade with, that I had this big crush on. And I saw the movie House Party, and I was like, in order to get her to come to my house, I gotta throw a party. So I asked my mom if I could have a party. And then I started like kind of DJing, because I had to, do the music for the parties,
Yeah.
and so that kind of started my interest in music. And then my real lucky break, if you could say, was when my first week of high school. I went to Cardinal Spellman in the Bronx, and I met this girl. Man, she was beautiful, man, beautiful. So I'm walking into the bus, and I'm trying to just say everything in my vocabulary, everything my 14-year-old mind could think of, to get her phone number. And after she left, this guy came up to me. He's like, "Yo, is that your girlfriend?" So I'm lying. I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, you have great taste." He said,
Wow.
"Are you into music?" Right? Because I think I had like maybe like a record on me or something. So, and I was like, "Nah, not really." He's like, "Well, look, man." He gave me his card. He was like, "I have a studio around the corner." He said, "You're welcome to come by whenever you want." And that brother name was Greg Troutman. And well, not was, is. His name is Greg Troutman. And this guy, he was a legit player in the business, man. And he like was a man of his word, literally let me sit in sessions, and I got to, really catch the bug, and I was able to be exposed to some great people like Jesse West, who at the time he was actually working with Diddy. I was there when he created the Reminisce remix for
Mm.
Mary J.
Mary
Blige.
J.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm watching him do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was literally right there.
Wow.
Um, I saw him work with the Lost Boys, saw him work with, I mean, just tons of acts, and Greg had the Rough House of Virus. He had this
Yeah.
group back to back, which we'll get into later too, because they come back in my story at a certain time. He had DMX, early DMX. I got to meet DMX, Rakim, from Rough Riders. I got to meet all of these people. And another point person I got to meet was this brother named Top Quality, who was signed to Greg. He got signed to PMD Records. So at the time, you know, I'm just sitting there and I purchased like a little 4-second sampler. So I'm just looping stuff. And then it was like it was the world to me. But me and Top Quality, I got a friendship, and he was like, "Yo, man, he's like, yeah, you need to, get your stuff together." And so he told me, he's like, yeah, you need the SP 1200, right? That's what Jesse West was using at the time, and it was like $2,000. So he was like, yo, if you come up with 1,000, I'll give you the other 1,000, because
Oh,
he just got his deal, so he's all caked up. So, but still, as a 14-year-old, that's like still like $1 million. How you gonna get that? So I ended up selling raffle tickets to get the money, and then once I got the bread, he had amnesia. He totally forgot that conversation.
oh
But
damn.
at that point, it proved to my parents that how serious I was, because I was out there slanging them raffle tickets, man. And luckily, I went to a Catholic school all my life, so I was used to selling shit, chocolates and candies and stuff. It's funny, man. I felt as long as I had raffle tickets in my pocket, I always had money.
You know what I mean? That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then from there, just started creating, and like I said, Jesse West was a really influential person for me. He gave me like some drum sounds, and I met other brothers from there. My boy Trey Bag, who's
Yes,
still one of
sir.
my good friends. My boy Raisin, who was in a group that Greg had, who is still one of my brothers today. It's like it was such a important place for me to be. Is straight up destiny. Like it was so many blessings there. So I really give a shout out to Greg, man. I really appreciate him opening his studio to me. I mean, shoot, who does that? And he asked me
Yeah.
for nothing. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like that's highly appreciated. And then from there, I started meeting people, and a lot of people wanted to sign me as a producer. And I guess Pete Rock and CL Smooth, they had something, and they broke up, and they were offering me like equipment and all this stuff. And I remember a few people saying that, well, they was gonna bring me to Puff Daddy, and yeah, it didn't really make a dent in my name, because I thought he was an R&B guy. I didn't really do
Yeah.
R&B, because I heard his name from Jesse, as far as like Mary and Jodeci. So
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. But one day when he first came out with the Craig Mack record in '94, I was at school, and these girls was talking about Craig Mack and Puff Daddy, and these were cute girls. So I couldn't, I got inspired. I was like, I need to get down with that dude.
That was the driving force behind a lot, man. Them cute girls
Yo,
had you
yo,
going, bro.
listen, man, listen, don't get me started, man. It's all inspiration, all inspiration. But I went in
Uh,
school, and got on the phone and called information, got the number to the office, and I called the office. I was like, yo, I'm 16. I'm the dopest producer in the world. I was talking
yeah,
mad
yeah,
shit. And
yeah,
the receptionist, she gave me a name, Harv Pierre. And after that, kept calling for Harv. And I had 1 quarter left, and I called my house. And I have a brother named Harvey. And I told him, I said, look, call this guy Harv Pierre and set up a meeting with him. And by the time I got home from school, my brother set up the meeting for me.
Oh wow.
And I went and I met with Harv. Harv didn't like my music. He didn't say it, but you feel energy,
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
That I didn't think I was gonna hear from him again, you know what I'm saying? But 2 days later, uh, Puff wanted to meet me, and he was very vocal about it. He was like, yo, I don't like your music. But he was like, he's like, you are idolizing the wrong people. Because also at the time, I was like the era of Pete Rock. Every joint I had a horn in it. You know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying? It
yeah.
was,
That was that
it
time, bro. We all did.
was
That
that
was that
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll just take one Miles Davis record and just go fuck it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah. So he was like, "Yo, we're gonna put you down, and you're gonna learn this." And man, it was like the best education I ever received in life, and not just with music, just with life and business. I mean, some people pay hundreds of $1,000s to go to to go to college, and I got this. They paid me. It was a
Exactly.
great experience.
Exactly, man. That's dope, bro. That's
Yeah,
really
so
dope.
that was my start, man. And then from there, just seeing all those heavyweights like Chucky Thompson, um, Polk,
Yeah,
from the Trackmasters.
my God.
Um, oh man, who else? Freaking Nasheem Merrick, who even though like before he started producing, he was like a engineer, and he always was. I mean, he was always creating. He had some fire. I mean, he told me in '94 he played me the loop for from the Dramatics in the Rain. He was like, "Yeah, Big want this for his next album." You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
2 years before. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was a great time. Great time.
I could only imagine, bro. So yeah, I mean, in your story, we have some similarities in the sense that a person that was very instrumental in my professional career as a producer was Greg Trotman. Played the same
Yeah,
type of role, bro. That guy to this day, I love Greg, bro. Shout out to Greg
same here.
Trotman, bro.
Same here.
Responsible for a lot of people's starts from DMX to, like you just said, Magnum, top quality with Magnum Opus.
Yep,
A
yep.
lot of people, man. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, Champ MC, we go on for days, bro. Greg was
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh
Jesse
yeah,
West.
champ. I
We
got
could go on for days, bro.
yeah, we
Greg is
could
that
get into
guy.
that too.
Um,
Champ, yeah.
so I mean, bro, you I mean, I know we speeding through it. It seems like it's happening overnight, but I know it's like you said, it's a process. You signed on with Puff in '94. What was your actual first placement that as either Hitman or just credited your name, Younglord?
My first placement was like a year later, maybe late '95. And what it was yeah, I guess it was '95. New Edition, they came to work on their Home Again album.
I remember
So
that.
Puff's in the studio playing them beats, right? And he got a call. So he went out of the studio. So, I just take out my tape, start playing beats.
Took that initiative, bro. That's the only way.
Hey, listen, you got these guys here, right? And yeah, so playing beats, and Mike Bivens, man, who's freaking genius, man. This guy's like, so yo, you did that? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right. And then so Puff comes back in, and Mike's like, yo, let me talk to you for a second. Yo, Puff looked at me like what the fuck did you do this time?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I was always just doing shit, So Mike took him out, and then they called me in there, and he's like, all right, so Mike's gonna have you produce this group called Subway. So I worked with Subway, and it was crazy, man. I went to Atlanta, and these guys, were young guys like me, so I never really worked on any R&B. So it's just we ended up doing like a Pepsi commercial. That was that was crazy, man. It was a great experience. But Michael Bivens was my first check outside of you know Puff giving me my initial money, and then after that, Chucky Thompson, who was one of the Hitmen, he had a production deal at Epic, and he had a group called the Power Three. So I
yeah.
ended up doing some records for them. So that gave me some dough, and then and then from there, um, it was just a lot of demos, actually, a lot of demos. But luckily, like I said, when I was at Greg's spot, I met Joaquin,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would for some reason always bump into him, and he's, hey, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, and then he took me up to the studio in Yonkers, and he was working with the Locks, he was working with X, so I ended up doing a bunch of records with them, and uh, those that like became placements later, not at the time though. You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying?
Gotcha.
And X too, but it was like it was at the right time, because as soon as those guys hit, like X thing happened so fast, they had just pulled records that they already
Already
had.
had,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And luckily, I was in the mix in that album. 5 million records. That was a
Ooh.
huge, huge project.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, man, it was a magical experience. And but I say the first thing that I can, when I think of my first placement outside of what I just told you, uh, is Big Pun. You know, Big Pun. You ain't a killer.
You Ain't a Killer, one
Um,
of the hardest beats. That's one of the
yeah,
illest beats,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. And what was so dope about that record? There was a project I was working on before. Like I said, I think of it as my first placement, but it wasn't. But there was this project I was working on that was supposed to be like some East Coast, West Coast combination thing. We are gonna have Ghostface on it and this kid named Mac Mall from Oakland.
Mhm.
And Mac Mall was signed to Relativity Records. And Fat Joe was signed to Relativity Records. So one day we went to lunch with Relativity, with like
A
the
whole
A&Rs and stuff. And I
got
ended
you.
up meeting Fat Joe and we end up talking and he's like, hey, I got a project I'm working on, I want to talk to you about. And he ended up bringing Pun to my house. And I'm from the Bronx. They're from the
Bronx,
Bronx,
yeah.
like literally like maybe 15 minutes away. So Pun came and we ended up working on records. But that record, that You Ain't a Killer beat, was supposed to be for Ghostface and Mac Mall. So that's why I had
Mm.
those West Coast like
Yeah.
synth lines in there,
Yeah.
Um and the Pun just he just destroyed it, man. And I was so happy about that, And
Yeah,
he was a really good dude, man.
yeah, that's a classic, bro, and a staple. One of Pun's earlier records. It's a joint that you did that I was unfamiliar. I had to go do some research myself and check the credits. Um, the Pun record with Wyclef, you did that, the Caribbean
Yeah,
Connection.
Caribbean Connection, man. Caribbean
Another one of my
Connection.
favorites. Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh my God. See that joint, how that came about. So after I graduated high school, I still went to college. I went to Seton Hall, which was in Jersey. So it wasn't far from home. And one thing that's dope about going to school, I met a bunch of young guys who wanted to do what I was doing, so I was able to kind of like build up a cool team.
Hold on, one
And
second. Hold on, let me interrupt you for a quick second. You're
sure.
telling me while you was doing all of this with Hitmen, you were in college too?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I went to
Wow.
I remember like Puff was like, "Why are you going to college for?" And I didn't even know I was going to college. I still don't, but it was necessary for me as a person, and also I met a lot of lifelong friends. So
Got
I'm
you.
like it
Got you.
was a win-win. And one of my close, boys, to this day, his brother named Don, man, his father was like a DJ, from he was a Jamaican DJ. So he had this record. He has Johnny Osborne, and I'm not familiar with this stuff. I didn't grow up into that music. So Dom he played me this joint, and I was like, "Ooh, what is that?" I was like, "Let me get that. Let me get that." So I took the loop and then looped it up, and you know, Pun liked it, and we were able to make it happen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorites, bro. Um, so being a hip hop producer, or producer in general, we gonna say hip hop. But I know your roots started in that.
Oh
So this is a
yeah.
question I always ask. What's your what are you favor or against or with? Clearly that was a sample. So do you like samples, interpolations, or versus like original creations?
Hmm. I mean, I like it all. It's of course, started with samples and got into the plain original stuff when Swiss hit. Because nobody was trying to clear any samples after
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. What? What? I remember that. Couldn't move a sample beat at
Yeah.
that time.
Oh, you got a sample? Nah, nah, nah. You know what I'm saying? But so it had to transform, and one thing that was really dope is I was able to always, like, I always had an open vibe, and I say producers should have this as well, like, because you should never get to the point where you can't learn from somebody. No matter what success I had or was going to have, I always open myself up to young people or people my age, whoever was dope, like, 'cause I can
Yeah.
learn something from them too. And Ryan Leslie, who
Mm.
was one of my guys, he actually helped me kind of fine tune my musical skills that gave me another 10 years in my career. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It
Yeah.
really did. So yeah, I love it all. I just love my goal as a producer, and especially now, is to create um energy, feelings. A hit. I feel a hit is just a potent feeling that
Yeah.
everybody wants to feel again and again and again. So I try and tap into stuff on purpose, and whether it's making you happy, whether it's making you sad, whether it's making you feel love, whatever that is, to be able to tap into that vibe and see it all the way through, from the beat to the lyrics to the mix of it, that it's all congruent and working together. So I don't care how I get there, but as long as I get there, so I'll be inspired from anywhere.
Got you. Got you. And also being an established producer that's transcend different generations. We now in a current age where it's a lot of emailing tracks back and forth and studio sessions without the producer being involved in the process. Which do you prefer? I know you come from an era of being there, making the music and making the records. To me, is where a lot of the magic happens. What do you prefer, working in the studio with artists directly, or emailing back and forth?
Yeah, man, fuck that email.
Yeah.
I have a course that I just dropped with my boy Soundoracles, who's like one of
Oh
the
yeah.
best sound designers out there. We put together a course called the Producer's Survival Manual, and we teach people how to make money consistently, right? And I understand that emailing is a thing, and you gotta do it sometimes, but it's about having access to the artist, and there's a way to do that, but you have to touch them,
Yeah.
not physically, but you know what I'm saying? You have to be able to sell your ideas. You have to come up with a vision, and you have to sell it to them. You do that, you create a way where you can have multiple placements on a record instead of just maybe one song. There's like a lot of producers that I know who, produce different artists and never met them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's that? You know, like I give an example all the time, like this. There's a few of them, but like LL Cool J, who is one of my heroes. I always wanted to work with him just because I was a fan. I just, come on, I was being him when I was 9, but I'm bad. And I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm doing him 100%. So when I knew I was going to meet with him, I, you know, I just couldn't give him no beats, man. This guy worked with Molly Mall. This guy worked with track masters. This guy worked with everybody. You can't just give this guy no beat. I have to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, what? So I found that he had 2 books, so I picked both of them up, and I don't know what I was looking for, but I was looking for clues. In the first book, it was like a workout diet book. So I realized from that I need to get my ass in the gym. I was a little skinny guy. You know what I'm saying? So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I'm gonna get in the gym. So that inspired me there. And then the second thing, from his other book, it's like a biography. I was like, wow, his grandmother did all these great things for him. And I quickly went through his catalog, realized he didn't do any songs about it. So I had this girl who, she was a lyricist. So I was like, I gave her this beat I did like 3 years ago. I was like, all right, write a hook to this joint. And when we had the meeting, I didn't even record it. I had her sing it in his ear. I said, yo,
Wow.
I read your books, and your grandmother is like a phenomenal person, and you need to do a song, praising her. And he was like, damn, you're right. So I put on the beat. He sung, she sung the hook. The next thing out of his mouth was, get that man his check. He didn't ask how much. He didn't ask what. He said, get that man his check. And not only did we end up, we that record, I learned a lot of stuff from Ella from there, but I built a relationship where I ended up doing like a Gatorade commercial for him, with like two other records, and you know, if I need him
Wow.
today, I'll be able to, you know, reach him. So it's you know, that comes from me being able to touch him. If I would have just sent him a beat, he wouldn't have got it. I had to give him the vision. I had to walk him there, you know. So, you know, all these other producers out there, you know, you have to create a vision for the artist. You have to become an A&R now, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
decide for them where they need to go. Now, listen, you could be wrong, but you need to be confident. You know what I'm
They'll
saying?
respect that
Because
anyway. Yeah.
I
That.
respect that. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, you know, artists, you know, and the really like super great ones, they listen.
Yeah.
LL Cool J is a great because he listens. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
That's a fact.
Drake listens. You
That's
know
a
what I'm saying?
fact.
So if you have confidence and you are convinced yourself, there's a chance that they will be convinced. And then if it works out, they'll lean on you. That, and you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Then you'll make way more money. So you need to create access. And if you do have problems with access, you know, hey, listen, like I said, you know, you need to look up the producer survival manual. You can find it on soundoracle.net. But it's very important that you have that personal human contact.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Straight up.
Ironically, bro, our stories have so many similarities to the point that the original record, the Big Mama on that album, we produced. Me and my production partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we produced. You did. I think you did a remix too, right? We
No, no.
produced.
Well, the thing what happened is no. This is what happened. I did the original. He did it over with you guys, and then I
Oh,
did
okay,
it.
yeah, you're right.
Again.
And then
Yeah,
you did
yeah,
it
yeah,
again. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Because they gave
yeah. Yep.
me originally they gave me vocals with Casey and JoJo singing on the
Casey and
chorus.
Joe. That session was the worst session I ever had in my life,
I
man.
could only imagine.
Oh my god,
That's
it took us
crazy.
all day. But you know what? It was LL taught me how to deal with people like that because they came in intoxicated. I mean, that was a whole different story, but I learned so much. Um, I learned so much, but that idea was from reading that book, and it turned into not just that, but a relationship over several things to
Exactly.
where,
Yeah.
like, you know, they's like, ah, this is not going to work. They sent it to you, and then they sending it right back. You know, to me. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So
Exactly.
it's a beautiful thing when you can really create a relationship with an artist, you know,
Yeah.
like I did with Pun, or like I did with Joe, like I did with any of these guys, you know. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's dope. Like I said, some of the similarities. We got to work closely with him. Did some more records with him. We did the record with him and Puff on that same album after school, and we did
Dope.
it. Got to do a Dr Pepper commercial with him after that. We had exactly what you're saying. We formed a relationship with him, and we got to
Yeah,
work with him on albums to come. We did a record later on down the line on another album with him. You know what I mean? So definitely, that's a key point. So all the up and coming producers out there, of course, you got your DMs, you got the access to email people beats and ideas, but take it a step further. If you could put a record with a hook on it, if you don't feel like, look, this is my only chance of seeing this person, or getting to this person, pretty much put everything you can into it, not just email it a beat or a bunch of beats with no
you got to plan
personality,
for it.
no character. Yeah, like be very
You got,
intentional when you're reaching out to these people and know what you're saying, know what you have to offer. That way they'll respect it and value it more instead of just,
yeah,
yeah, give me that
you got
beat.
to plan for it. It's worth it. It's
Yeah.
it's it's worth it. Like, listen, the money, the royalties you receive, everything, you know, it's worth it. It's worth it. You do that.
Something I always admired about you, just following your career and all your successes and things that you went through. I know there's a stigma when you hear Diddy, you hear Badboy, you hear not so much Hitmen, because I've never really heard any Hitmen say anything bad about him. But just personally, I knowing you and knowing your story, I see that, to me, the way I perceive it. This is just my perception. Good or bad, you took the experiences as they were, and you just built on them. It's not like there's not a bunch of clips online with you talking negative about Puff. There's not a lot of
Oh
disrespect
man.
toward him.
You'll
Um,
never hear me talking about Puff like that. Do you understand that he put me in a position to become a motherfucking millionaire?
exactly. Exactly.
Yo,
Exactly.
I don't.
Everybody,
I mean,
people hear
listen,
that? Do you hear that?
and let me tell you, all the producers out there, right? And I'm not talking about anybody's particular story. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stories out there, people knocking them. I don't know, but my experience is, um, number one, everything you learn from everything, and when you learn from the best, you become sharp. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And with success, there's renegotiation. Of course, deals aren't going to be great at the beginning. That's with anybody. But when you succeed, you know, you freaking step that back to the table. That's your responsibility to do that, and you renegotiate, and then you I mean, listen, you learn. You learn. But bro, anybody that puts you in position to win, for, like, listen, man, I've never had a job in my life, man. You know what I'm saying? And I have children, I have wife, and they're good. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And like I said, I'm thankful to Greg for opening that studio to me at the beginning. And I'm thankful for Diddy for showing me not just getting me those records, but the passion required to win in anything
Mm-hmm.
that you do. The team that you needed to set up in order to win in anything that you do. Man, yeah, you ain't gonna hear me saying
Nah,
Diddy,
that, yeah, man. I definitely respect that about you, brother.
man.
Quick question. So we talked about, so I mean, so let's just bring it up to speed currently. You spoke about the project that you have with Sound Oracle and with the course and stuff. Just if you want to expound on some of the things you got going on today, just so people can see that you can have a long career in this and still and again be relevant and transcend generations. What do you got going on now?
Well, you know what? For many years, like, so after I really, like, production slowed down for me, maybe around 2008 or so, and I I wanted to get out of my publishing contract with Diddy. So I had this, like, meeting with him and explained to him I wanted to sign new guys, whatever. And he was like, look, you know, he's like, I believe you're going to do everything you say you're going to do. He's like, you just need to, I don't think you're ready yet. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, he said this one thing too. He's like, when you do this, you're going to have a writer that's going to come to you and say the same thing. And you're going to have to tell him that he has to stay in your contract because you had to stay in mine. Right?
All right, all right.
Yo, bro, what could you say to that, right? But what he did was he let me work in Janice Combs to learn. To Janice Combs Publishing. So I got to understand licensing and work in that end. And then I ended up becoming friends with a brother named Kevin Thompson, who is a business affairs guy over there. Then we left to start our own operation uh, called License to Rock. And but what happened is when we got into that, licensing is very different. Where it's like quick. It's you have to have things ready.
Oh
It's
yeah,
it so commercials, TV mostly. So it was a different vibe, and we created this pipeline that we had to keep filled. So that kind of turned me into more like a coach of trying to find other creatives to fill that pipeline. Took me away from being creative, and then from there, I started flipping houses. I started buying houses because in music, a lot of time people make money, a lot of money, and then life happens and then they don't. And so I
yeah,
would buy the houses from them and stop them from foreclosure, whatever the case is, fix them up, sell them. So I started doing that too. And then all of these things that were like really great for me, but it was not music. I went,
yeah.
did my family, did that whole thing. And then this summer, I I don't know, one day I woke up and I started feeling creative, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, look, I'm about to go back in. And she's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, yeah. You
She's like,
got
what
bit by
does
that
that
bug
mean? I
again.
was like, well, it means that, hey, I'm not gonna be here
Yeah,
around a lot. Like, I'm gonna be there, but I'm gonna be in my office. I'm gonna be, just, doing whatever. And luckily our baby, our youngest she's 2, so she's kind of
okay.
like, we kind of got a good routine with her. And so as I started to go back in, I said, what I'm going to do this time that I didn't do last time is I really want to get super technical with it. Like last time, I really felt that I wish I would have learned mixing better because I always had like a issue with my drums. I always felt they weren't heavy enough, and so this time I started focusing on that. That was the first thing I did. I started doing research and I linked up with Oracle,
I was about to say you
because
with the right guy. You link
yeah,
with the
yeah,
right
because
guy.
he has he uses the drums. And what's
Yeah.
funny is one of my people was telling me, "Hey, you need to check this guy out. He has some drums, some dope stuff." So I checked. I mean, I got some of his stuff, and it was really good. And then I did I hit him up, DM, on the Instagram, like, "Yo, I want to talk to you about what I'm doing as far as how can I get my sound to be better." And come to find out is that early in his career, we had met and I helped him, with some stuff back then. So it was just like, it was all
Wow.
good. He
Full
was like,
circle.
whatever I can do, to help you. So I've been in my creative bag, just kind of learning different things, training my ear and learning the new technology as far as like the FL. I'm learning the new Akai software. I'm learning all these different dogs to see which one really fits. And I mean, FL's pretty dope, man. I kind of like it so far. It's
Okay.
just quick. It's just quick, and that's you want to be able to
Get
get
your
your sound
ideas
done.
out.
So
Yep.
I'm yeah, so I'm going through the process, and it feels good, and it's from a place, thankfully, that it's not like I need to get a placement
Yeah, it's not out
tomorrow.
of desperation.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like it's coming from a good place of really want to make sure it feels right. So I'm producing right now. I'm back in this thing,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I'm feeling good. So y'all can like some stuff's going down this year. Like I've already like got some things moving. So it's gonna be a great time.
Okay. So all the up and coming artists, you can go bomb my man right here. Young Lord Beats
Hey,
are back in business, bro. You
please
got to get
please
with them.
do, please
You
do,
got to get
please
with
do.
them.
And also, I'm here for anybody who wants to you know, move forward and feel stuck, need some inspiration, some knowledge or something. Because, like I said, it was poured. All of that was poured into me. It's like I'm
Exactly.
here not because of I'm not a super great producer. I'll be real with you. I'm not Timbaland or like a Pharrell or a Swiss. These guys, like I said, they're wired a little differently. But so many great people have poured into me that I've been able to maneuver and make things happen, and also like be able to connect with my emotions to make this music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It feels good, man. It feels good when you make a great song, man.
Yes, indeed, brother. Okay, man. So you kind of tapped on my last question was hardware versus software. You dabbled on it a little bit, but where you at with that right now? I know we in a new
Wow,
technology.
you know what? It's weird, man, because see, Ryan Leslie back in 2002, he was like, "Yo, fuck all that hardware." Like he taught me how to make beats in Pro Tools. So
Wow.
there's a certain flow that goes with that I love. But now, I'm trying stuff out, and I got that new Kai software with the pads, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
fun. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
so. Right now, I'm going with the spirit. So right now, it's
Gonna be
it's fun. I'm
software.
going with fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm
There you
going with the
go.
fun.
That's what it is, man. Okay, so man, we gonna wrap up today's episode to check the credits with Young Lloyd, man. Again, want to thank you for coming on and,
Oh,
and
no,
sharing your
thanks for
story.
having me, man. Thanks for having me. And for all the listeners out there, like I said, please feel free. You can find me on Instagram, Rich Younglord, Richard Younglord on TikTok. But just holla, see what we could do. And of course, go to soundoracle.net, check out that course we did. It's freaking it's it's the real deal. I'm so proud of it.
That's what it is, man. So once again, and concluded in a episode of Check the Credits. We'll be back in with y'all pretty soon next week. So until then, continue to check the credits, y'all. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Woo!